In recent years, China's influence has expanded across the globe, especially in its neighboring countries. This expansion is not just limited to economic dominance, but also extends to political, cultural, and social spheres. China's Belt and Road Initiative, for instance, has been a significant driver of its global influence, creating new trade routes and fostering economic ties with numerous countries. Vietnam, once a fierce adversary of China, now finds itself in a precarious position. The history between these two nations is fraught with conflict and tension, dating back centuries. From the ancient wars to the more recent Vietnam War, the relationship has been complex and often adversarial. However, the dynamics have shifted dramatically in recent years. Today, Vietnam is caught between national sovereignty and economic dependency. The influx of Chinese products into Vietnamese markets is a testament to the growing economic ties. Vietnamese factories are increasingly reliant on Chinese machinery, and political engagements between the two countries have become more frequent. This economic interdependence has created a delicate balance for Vietnam as it navigates its relationship with its powerful neighbor. Chinese investments in Vietnam have surged, with numerous construction projects spearheaded by Chinese companies. These projects range from infrastructure development to real estate, significantly impacting Vietnam's economic landscape. Additionally, cultural festivals and events showcasing Chinese influence have become more common, reflecting the deepening ties between the two nations. In this video, we'll explore how China's influence is creeping into Vietnam, piece by piece, examining the various facets of this complex relationship and its implications for the future. Vietnam has long fought to preserve its independence from its powerful neighbor to the north, but the dynamics have shifted in recent decades. The history of Vietnam and China is a complex tapestry of conflict, cooperation, and cultural exchange. For centuries, Vietnam was influenced by Chinese culture, governance, and philosophy. However, the Vietnamese people have always maintained a strong sense of national identity and resistance against foreign domination. During the period of Chinese dynastic rule, Vietnam was often a tributary state, paying homage to the Chinese emperor while retaining a degree of autonomy. This relationship was marked by periods of rebellion and assertion of independence, most notably during the Trung Sisters Rebellion in the 1st century AD. The arrival of French colonial forces in the 19th century added another layer of complexity to Vietnam's struggle for sovereignty. Under French rule, Vietnam experienced significant social and economic changes, but the desire for independence remained strong. Ho Chi Minh emerged as a key figure in the fight against colonialism, leading to the establishment of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam in 1945. The subsequent Vietnam War saw the country divided and embroiled in a brutal conflict with significant involvement from both the United States and China. Despite the devastation, Vietnam emerged as a unified nation in 1975, but tensions with China persisted. The Sino-Vietnamese War of 1979 was a brief but intense conflict, further straining relations between the two countries. In recent decades, the relationship between Vietnam and China has evolved, with economic cooperation becoming a key aspect of their interactions. Trade between the two nations has grown significantly, and China is now one of Vietnam's largest trading partners. However, territorial disputes in the South China Sea continue to be a source of tension, with both countries asserting their claims over strategic areas. Despite these challenges, Vietnam has sought to balance its relationship with China, leveraging economic ties while maintaining its sovereignty. The historical context of Vietnam's relationship with China is crucial to understanding the current dynamics and the ongoing efforts to navigate this complex partnership. Vietnam's economy is rapidly developing, showcasing impressive growth in various sectors such as technology, manufacturing, and services. The skyline of cities like Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi is dotted with cranes and new skyscrapers, symbolizing the country's economic ambitions. The government has been actively promoting foreign investments and improving infrastructure to support this growth. However, a significant portion of this growth is being fueled by Chinese capital, and this raises important questions about the long-term implications for Vietnam. What are the hidden costs of this economic relationship? How does it affect Vietnam's autonomy and decision-making capabilities?
China has become Vietnam's largest trading partner, a relationship that has deepened over the years through numerous trade agreements and economic partnerships. This partnership has brought about a surge in bilateral trade, with goods and services flowing freely across the border. Vietnamese exports are heavily dependent on the Chinese market, with a significant portion of its agricultural products, textiles, and electronics being sold to China. This dependency creates a delicate balance where any disruption in trade relations could have severe repercussions for Vietnam's economy. Chinese investments, especially in infrastructure, have seen significant growth, largely due to projects under the Belt and Road Initiative. These projects include the construction of highways, railways, and ports, which are crucial for Vietnam's economic development. The Belt and Road Initiative aims to enhance connectivity and cooperation between China and participating countries, including Vietnam.
These investments, while beneficial in the short term, raise questions about long-term sovereignty. The presence of Chinese companies in key infrastructure projects means that Vietnam may become increasingly reliant on Chinese expertise and technology. This reliance could limit Vietnam's ability to make independent decisions about its infrastructure and development. Key Vietnamese industries, such as energy, mining, and construction, are increasingly controlled by Chinese companies, leading to a growing economic dependency. Chinese firms are involved in the extraction of natural resources, the generation of energy, and the construction of major infrastructure projects. This control extends to the supply chains and labor markets, further entrenching Chinese influence in Vietnam's economy.
The trade imbalance is quite stark. Vietnam imports a wide range of goods from China, including machinery, electronics, and consumer products. These imports are essential for Vietnam's manufacturing sector, which relies on Chinese components and raw materials. Vietnam imports far more from China than it exports, creating an economic dependency that could have serious implications for the nation's future autonomy. This trade imbalance means that Vietnam is vulnerable to changes in Chinese trade policies and economic conditions. Any disruption in the supply of Chinese goods could have a cascading effect on Vietnam's economy.
As Vietnam's economic landscape continues to evolve, the influence of Chinese capital becomes more pronounced. Chinese businesses are not only investing in infrastructure, but also in real estate, retail, and technology sectors. This growing presence is reshaping the economic dynamics of Vietnam, making it increasingly intertwined with China's economic interests. This growing influence prompts concerns about the potential costs to Vietnam's sovereignty and independence. There are fears that Vietnam's economic policies may be swayed by Chinese interests, compromising its ability to act independently on the global stage. Public dissent and debates in the Vietnamese parliament reflect these concerns, as the nation grapples with the complexities of its economic relationship with China. The challenge for Vietnam is to balance the benefits of Chinese investments with the need to maintain its sovereignty and independence. In the education and technology sectors, Chinese influence is also growing. Chinese companies are investing in Vietnamese tech startups and educational institutions, providing funding and resources that are crucial for development. However, this also means that Vietnamese students and professionals are increasingly exposed to Chinese technology and methodologies, which could shape the future workforce in ways that align more closely with Chinese interests. In agriculture, Chinese investments are helping to modernize Vietnam's farming techniques and increase productivity. Chinese agricultural experts are working with Vietnamese farmers to implement new technologies and practices. While this collaboration is beneficial, it also means that Vietnam's agricultural sector is becoming more dependent on Chinese expertise and technology.
The cultural impact of this economic relationship is also significant. As Chinese businesses and investments become more prevalent, there is a growing influence on Vietnamese culture and society. Traditional markets and local artisans are feeling the pressure to adapt to new economic realities, which can sometimes lead to a loss of cultural heritage and identity. The media landscape in Vietnam is also experiencing changes due to Chinese influence. Chinese media content is becoming more accessible in Vietnam, and Vietnamese social media platforms are increasingly featuring Chinese advertisements and content. This shift in media consumption patterns can influence public opinion and cultural norms, further entrenching Chinese influence in Vietnamese society.
On the political front, the economic relationship with China is influencing Vietnam's foreign policy and diplomatic strategies. Vietnamese government officials are often engaged in policy meetings and international summits, where Chinese interests are a significant consideration. This dynamic can affect Vietnam's ability to pursue independent foreign policies and maintain balanced relationships with other countries. The security implications of this economic dependency are also noteworthy. Vietnam's military and defense strategies are increasingly influenced by its economic ties with China. Defense agreements and regional security meetings often involve considerations of Chinese interests, which can impact Vietnam's ability to independently address its security concerns. Environmental sustainability is another area where Chinese investments are playing a role. Chinese-funded green initiatives and renewable energy projects are helping Vietnam address its environmental challenges. However, this also means that Vietnam's environmental policies and projects are becoming more aligned with Chinese priorities and interests. In the healthcare sector, Chinese investments are providing much-needed resources and technology to improve Vietnam's medical facilities and services. Joint healthcare projects between the two countries are enhancing Vietnam's healthcare infrastructure. Yet, this also means that Vietnam's healthcare system is becoming more reliant on Chinese medical equipment and expertise.
The tourism industry in Vietnam is also experiencing the effects of Chinese influence. Chinese tourists make up a significant portion of visitors to Vietnam, and joint tourism ventures are becoming more common. This influx of Chinese tourists is boosting the local economy, but it also means that the tourism sector is becoming more dependent on Chinese visitors. Chinese-funded restoration projects are helping to preserve Vietnam's cultural heritage sites, attracting more tourists and generating revenue. However, this also means that the management and preservation of these sites are increasingly influenced by Chinese interests, which can impact how Vietnam's cultural heritage is presented and maintained.
Vietnamese entrepreneurs and startups are benefiting from Chinese venture capital and support. Startup incubators and innovation hubs are receiving funding from Chinese investors, which is helping to drive innovation and economic growth. However, this also means that the direction and focus of Vietnam's startup ecosystem are becoming more aligned with Chinese business interests. The labor market in Vietnam is also being shaped by Chinese investments. Chinese-owned factories and businesses are providing employment opportunities, but they're also influencing labor practices and standards. Worker training programs funded by Chinese companies are helping to develop the local workforce, but they're also aligning it with Chinese business practices and expectations. The financial sector in Vietnam is seeing increased collaboration with Chinese banks and financial institutions. Joint financial ventures are providing capital and resources for economic development, but they are also making Vietnam's financial system more intertwined with China's. This can impact Vietnam's financial stability and independence. Rural development projects in Vietnam are benefiting from Chinese-funded initiatives that aim to improve infrastructure and living standards in rural areas. These projects are helping to reduce poverty and promote economic growth, but they are also making rural communities more dependent on Chinese support and resources. The education system in Vietnam is incorporating more Chinese language programs and cultural exchange initiatives. These programs are fostering greater understanding and cooperation between the two countries, but they are also influencing the cultural and educational landscape in Vietnam. The tech industry in Vietnam is forming partnerships with Chinese technology companies, which is driving innovation and growth. Innovation hubs and tech parks are receiving support from Chinese investors, helping to position Vietnam as a tech hub in the region. However, this also means that the tech industry is becoming more aligned with Chinese technological standards and practices. Urban development in Vietnam is being influenced by Chinese-funded smart city projects. These projects are helping to modernize cities and improve living standards, but they are also shaping urban planning and development in ways that align with Chinese interests.
Vietnam's trade policies are increasingly influenced by its economic relationship with China. Trade agreements and international trade forums often involve negotiations that consider Chinese interests, which can impact Vietnam's ability to pursue independent trade policies. Environmental activists in Vietnam are raising concerns about the impact of Chinese-funded projects on the environment. Protests and community meetings are highlighting the potential environmental costs of these projects, which can affect local ecosystems and communities. Cultural festivals in Vietnam are experiencing the influence of Chinese culture, with Chinese elements becoming more prominent. This cultural exchange is fostering greater understanding, but it is also impacting local traditions and cultural practices. Economic forums in Vietnam are seeing increased participation from Chinese business delegations. Joint economic initiatives are being discussed and implemented, which is driving economic growth but also making Vietnam's economy more intertwined with China's.
The influence of Chinese capital on Vietnam's government policies is a topic of ongoing debate. Policy debates are focusing on how to balance the benefits of Chinese investments with the need to maintain Vietnam's sovereignty and independence. The challenge for Vietnam is to navigate this complex relationship while ensuring that its national interests are protected. Public opinion in Vietnam is divided on the issue of Chinese investments. Media coverage and local community reactions reflect a range of perspectives, from support for economic growth to concerns about sovereignty and independence. This ongoing debate highlights the complexities of Vietnam's economic relationship with China and the need for careful consideration of its long-term implications. As Vietnam looks to the future, its economic relationship with China will continue to play a significant role. Strategic planning and partnerships with Chinese businesses will be crucial for driving economic growth and development. However, it will be essential for Vietnam to balance these partnerships with the need to maintain its sovereignty and independence, ensuring that its economic future is secure and sustainable. Remain unwavering. with China. Chapter 6: Political Influence and Corruption. In this chapter, we delve into the intricate and often murky world of political influence and corruption within Vietnam, a nation that, despite its communist roots, finds itself navigating a complex web of internal and external pressures. Despite its communist roots, Vietnam's political elite are increasingly faced with difficult decisions that not only affect the nation's governance, but also its international standing and economic stability. The Vietnamese Communist Party, which has been the ruling party since the country's reunification in 1975, is at the heart of these challenges. How far should they go to maintain good relations with China? This question is not just a matter of foreign policy, but also one of national identity and sovereignty. The relationship between Vietnam and China is a long and complicated one, marked by both cooperation and conflict. Historically, China has been both a benefactor and a threat to Vietnam, and this duality continues to shape their interactions today.
China exerts considerable political pressure on Vietnamese leaders and institutions. This pressure manifests in various forms, from economic incentives and investments to more subtle forms of influence, such as cultural exchanges and educational programs. The Chinese government has a vested interest in maintaining a stable and cooperative relationship with Vietnam, but this often comes at a cost to Vietnam's political autonomy. There have been several instances where Chinese influence has been alleged in political controversies and decisions, leading to public outcry and protests. These controversies often revolve around issues such as land rights, environmental policies, and economic agreements that are perceived to favor Chinese interests over those of the Vietnamese people, raising concerns about the integrity of Vietnam's political system. The Vietnamese public is increasingly aware of and vocal about these issues, demanding greater transparency and accountability from their leaders. This growing political consciousness is both a challenge and an opportunity for the Vietnamese government, as it navigates the delicate balance between maintaining control and responding to the will of the people.
Balancing independence while engaging with China on economic and political fronts is a delicate act for Vietnam. The country has to weigh the benefits of Chinese investments and economic cooperation against the potential risks to its sovereignty and political integrity. This balancing act is further complicated by the broader geopolitical context, including the interests of other major powers such as the United States, Japan, and the European Union. The stakes are high, and the decisions made by Vietnam's leaders will have profound implications for the country's sovereignty and future. These decisions are not made in a vacuum. They are influenced by a range of factors, including domestic political dynamics, economic considerations, and international pressures. The Vietnamese leadership must navigate these complex and often conflicting demands to chart a course that ensures the country's long-term stability and prosperity.
The challenge for Vietnam is to assert its independence while managing these external influences. This is not just a matter of political rhetoric, but a practical necessity for the country's development and security. The symbols of Vietnam's independence, such as the national flag and monuments, serve as reminders of the sacrifices made to achieve and maintain sovereignty. These symbols are also a call to action for the current generation of leaders and citizens to protect and uphold the nation's independence, without jeopardizing the economic benefits that come from maintaining a good relationship with China. The economic ties between the two countries are significant, with China being one of Vietnam's largest trading partners. These economic benefits are crucial for Vietnam's development, providing much-needed investments and market access. However, they also come with strings attached, requiring careful negotiation and management to ensure that Vietnam's interests are not compromised. This balancing act is a defining feature of Vietnam's current political landscape. It requires a nuanced understanding of both domestic and international politics, as well as a commitment to the principles of transparency, accountability, and good governance. The future of Vietnam's political system will depend on the ability of its leaders to navigate these challenges effectively, ensuring that the country remains independent, prosperous, and true to its values. The Vietnamese public's increasing political engagement is a testament to the country's evolving political landscape. Citizens are more informed and active, demanding their voices be heard in the political process. This civic engagement is crucial for the development of a more transparent and accountable government. In response, Vietnamese leaders are making efforts to address public concerns and incorporate citizen feedback into their decision-making processes. This interaction between the government and the public is essential for building trust and ensuring that the political system remains responsive to the needs of the people. On the international stage, Vietnam continues to engage with a variety of global partners, balancing its relationships with major powers while asserting its own national interests. This diplomatic strategy is key to maintaining Vietnam's sovereignty and promoting its economic and political goals. Domestically, Vietnam is focused on economic development and modernization. Investments in infrastructure, technology, and education are seen as vital for the country's future growth and stability. These efforts are aimed at improving the quality of life for Vietnamese citizens and ensuring long-term prosperity. Preserving Vietnam's cultural heritage is also a priority. The country's rich history and traditions are celebrated and protected, serving as a foundation for national identity and pride. These cultural elements play a significant role in uniting the Vietnamese people and fostering a sense of community. The future of Vietnam lies in the hands of its youth. Educational programs and initiatives aimed at developing the next generation of leaders are crucial for the country's continued success. By investing in education and empowering young people, Vietnam is preparing for a bright and prosperous future. The strategic planning and policy-making processes within the Vietnamese government are designed to address both current challenges and future opportunities. By taking a proactive approach, Vietnam aims to navigate the complexities of the modern world while staying true to its core values and principles. Civic engagement at the local level is also a key component of Vietnam's political landscape. Community activities and local governance initiatives provide citizens with opportunities to contribute to the development of their communities and have a say in the decisions that affect their lives. National pride and patriotism are deeply ingrained in the Vietnamese psyche. Patriotic events and national symbols serve as reminders of the country's journey and the collective effort required to build a better future. These elements inspire a sense of unity and purpose among the Vietnamese people. Vietnam's participation in international forums and its diplomatic achievements highlight the country's growing influence on the global stage. By actively engaging in global cooperation, Vietnam is positioning itself as a key player in international affairs. The country's economic growth is a testament to its resilience and determination. Successful businesses and thriving industries are driving Vietnam's development, creating jobs and opportunities for its citizens. This economic progress is essential for the country's long-term stability and prosperity. Looking ahead, the Vietnamese government is committed to implementing policy reforms and initiatives that will ensure the country's continued progress. By addressing current challenges and seizing future opportunities, Vietnam is poised to achieve its goals and secure a prosperous future for its people. The spirit of celebration and community is a defining feature of Vietnamese society. National holidays and community gatherings bring people together, fostering a sense of belonging and shared purpose. These events are a reflection of the country's vibrant culture and strong social bonds. The strategic decisions made by Vietnamese leaders are crucial for the country's future. Government planning sessions and policy discussions are focused on addressing both immediate needs and long-term goals, ensuring that Vietnam remains on a path of sustainable development. Political discourse and civic participation are vital for a healthy democracy. Public forums and civic activities provide platforms for citizens to express their views and contribute to the political process. This engagement is essential for building a more inclusive and responsive government. Vietnam's national achievements and milestones are a source of pride for its people. These accomplishments reflect the country's progress and the collective effort of its citizens. Celebrating these achievements inspires confidence and optimism for the future. As Vietnam continues to build global partnerships and strengthen diplomatic relations, its leaders are actively engaging with international audiences. These efforts are aimed at promoting Vietnam's interests and enhancing its role on the world stage. The collective efforts of Vietnamese citizens are driving the country's development. Community projects and collaborative initiatives are examples of how people are working together to create positive change. This spirit of cooperation is essential for Vietnam's continued success. The future vision of Vietnam's leaders is focused on sustainable development and prosperity. Strategic planning and forward-thinking policies are designed to address the challenges of today while preparing for the opportunities of tomorrow. This vision is guiding Vietnam towards a brighter future. Cultural events and traditional performances are an integral part of Vietnamese society. These celebrations of cultural heritage not only preserve the country's history, but also strengthen the sense of identity and community among its people. International negotiations and global diplomacy are key components of Vietnam's foreign policy. By building strategic alliances and engaging in diplomatic efforts, Vietnam is enhancing its influence and securing its interests on the global stage. Economic initiatives and development projects are driving Vietnam's future growth. These efforts are focused on creating a sustainable and prosperous economy that benefits all citizens. By investing in key sectors and fostering innovation, Vietnam is laying the foundation for long-term success. National events and public celebrations are a reflection of the community spirit that defines Vietnam. These gatherings bring people together, fostering a sense of unity and shared purpose. They are a testament to the strength and resilience of the Vietnamese people. Policy decisions and government strategy sessions are critical for shaping Vietnam's future. By focusing on long-term planning and addressing current challenges, Vietnamese leaders are ensuring that the country remains on a path of sustainable development and prosperity. Civic activities and public forums provide opportunities for political engagement and discourse. These platforms allow citizens to voice their opinions and contribute to the decision-making process, fostering a more inclusive and responsive government. National symbols and patriotic celebrations are a source of pride for the Vietnamese people. These elements reflect the country's history and achievements, inspiring a sense of unity and purpose among its citizens. They are a reminder of the collective effort required to build a better future for Vietnam.
Conclusion: the road ahead. China's growing influence over Vietnam is a multifaceted issue. From trade to territory, culture to politics, the relationship between these two nations is complex and evolving. As China continues to expand its economic and political reach, Vietnam finds itself at a crossroads. The decisions made in the coming years will have profound implications not only for Vietnam, but for the entire Southeast Asian region. Vietnam must walk a fine line between cooperation and independence. On one hand, the economic benefits of a close relationship with China are undeniable. Trade between the two countries has grown exponentially, and Chinese investment in Vietnamese infrastructure has brought about significant development. However, this economic interdependence comes with its own set of challenges. Vietnam must ensure that it does not become overly reliant on China, risking its sovereignty and ability to make independent policy decisions. The future of this relationship will not only shape Vietnam's destiny, but will also reverberate across Southeast Asia. As a key player in the region, Vietnam's actions and policies will influence its neighbors and the broader geopolitical landscape. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, will be closely watching how Vietnam navigates its relationship with China, as it could set a precedent for other member states. The road ahead is fraught with challenges, but also opportunities. Vietnam has the potential to leverage its strategic position to its advantage. By balancing its relationship with China and strengthening ties with other global powers, Vietnam can enhance its regional influence and secure a more prosperous future for its people. This delicate balancing act requires astute diplomacy, strategic foresight, and a deep understanding of the shifting dynamics in international relations. How Vietnam navigates this complex relationship will determine its place in the region and the world. The choices made today will echo for generations to come. As Vietnam continues to develop and modernize, it must remain vigilant and adaptable. The global landscape is constantly changing, and Vietnam must be prepared to respond to new challenges and opportunities as they arise. The South China Sea remains a contentious issue, with territorial disputes posing a significant challenge to regional stability. Vietnam's stance on this issue will be a critical factor in its relationship with China. By asserting its territorial claims while seeking diplomatic solutions, Vietnam can demonstrate its commitment to sovereignty and regional peace. This approach will require careful negotiation and a willingness to engage with both China and other regional stakeholders. The choices made today will echo for generations to come. End credits.